community. Together it's you and me. Let's venture and make your dreams come to life. We are here for your every need, help you financially. We are a family, so come inside. Venture Credit Union is the place you should go when you're in need of a loan.
Good evening, members. Welcome and thank you for joining our Green webinar. Let us start with the Credit Union prayer by our Marketing and Communications Manager, Ms. Camille Roberts-Darbro, and this would be followed by our welcome from our CEO, Ms. Donna Romilly.
Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, and it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life.
Good evening, everyone. It is my singular pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, Flipping the Switch, the Merits of Going Green. On behalf of Venture Credit Union, I want to thank each of you for joining us as we explore one of the most pressing and promising movements of our time, sustainability. We are living in a pivotal moment. Around the world, businesses, governments, and individuals are recognizing that the choices we make today will shape the future of our world tomorrow. We have all borne witness to the ravages of climate change. Just 2 weeks ago, Jamaica, our CARICOM neighbor, was devastated by Melissa, a Category 5 hurricane which sat over our Caribbean neighbor, packing winds of 185 miles per hour. Of course, the Bahamas and Bermuda also sustained varying levels of damage. The time to act is now. At Venture, we believe that going green is not just a tagline. It's an opportunity to innovate, to lead, and to build a future that is not only promising, but also sustainable and equitable. Flipping the switch is therefore more than a metaphor. It is a call to action. It's about shifting our mindset from short-term gains to long-term impact. It's about embracing renewable energy, reducing waste, rethinking supply chains, and investing in technologies that protect our environment while driving growth. At Venture, we take this responsibility very serious, and we have been doing our part as a responsible corporate citizen to save the planet. Here are some of the activities, initiatives we have engaged in as we move along the path to sustainability. We were one of 3 credit unions to partner with IDB in 2022 in the development of Green Save Loan Facility. This loan provides financing for the acquisition of energy-efficient appliances as well as hybrid and electric vehicles at very attractive interest rates. You will hear more about this facility during the course of this webinar. We've replaced all incandescent bulbs throughout our network with LED light bulbs. We also practice plastic recycling at our head office in Couva. We are encouraging our branch network to come on board with this initiative. In my personal capacity, I also practice plastic recycling. Due to the shortage of recycle bins in Port of Spain, I bring my plastics all the way from Pity Valley to Couva to deposit my plastic trash in a recycle bin. So committed I am to the cause. Earlier this year, on June 14th, 2025, the Venture team, in conjunction with Caribbean Network for Integrated Rural Development and Trimbago International Coastal Cleanup, organized a beach cleanup at Las Cuevas Beach in North Trinidad. On that day, we collected 405 pounds of garbage, amassing 30 bags over 2 hours with 22 volunteers. As can be seen from these initiatives, we are not merely talking the talk, we are walking the walk. Today, you'll hear from thought leaders, innovators, and change makers who are at the forefront of this sustainability movement. They'll share insights, strategies, and success stories that demonstrate how sustainability can be a catalyst for resilience, competitiveness, and meaningful change. As we begin, I encourage you to think about your own role in this movement. Whether you're a business leader, a policymaker, a student, or just a concerned citizen, each of us has the power to flip the switch in our own lives. Let's make today the start of meaningful change. Let's learn, collaborate, and commit to building a greener, smarter, and more sustainable future together. Thank you so very much for taking this time to learn and become more appreciative of the need to be environmentally conscious. Let's get started.
So thank you so much, Camille and Ms. Romilly. This evening we have with us, I'm very excited for this green webinar, and we have with us industry leaders who will tell us more about sustainable energy and cost savings. Today, I'm going to introduce to you Tobias Franken. He is a climate finance and entrepreneurship consultant with Urban Sustainability Consulting, who brings over a decade of experience in investment for sustainable growth, climate resilience, and nature-based solutions. Welcome, Tobias. Please.
Good evening, and also from my side, welcome to the webinar. My name is Tobias, and thanks for the kind introduction, Donna, and good evening. My role for this webinar is to identify some green myth busters and help you, the members of Venture Credit Union and possible future members, to understand the opportunities that lie in sustainable consumption. We will start this evening with a short introduction to the topic of climate change before we look at climate change mitigation and adaptation, which are the two sides of the same coin as we seek to reduce our exposure and the risk associated with climate change. And the last part of my presentation will focus on cost-saving opportunities for Venture Credit Union members that could be leveraged by the Green Safe Loan that Venture is offering. So let's get started with a bit of background. As many of you will know, climate change is a long-term alteration of global or regional climate patterns. Climate change occurs naturally, with its effect developing over hundreds or thousands of years. However, due to the emissions of greenhouse gases, including carbon dioxide and methane, our human influence is causing climate change to occur at a much faster rate. And you will see on the image right now on the screen that the emissions are globally, so it requires a global response. Currently, as you might know, the world leaders are meeting in Belém in Brazil at the Conference of the Parties to discuss what can be done about climate change. And particularly in Trinidad and Tobago, we have a very important role to play in this. Not because it's a big country with a big overall energy and carbon footprint, but because the per capita, the per person consumption of electricity and energy and the associated greenhouse gas footprint is very high. So our behavior can be changed in order to do our share to reducing the risk of climate change, affecting us and the next generation. So what are some of the consequences of climate change? Mainly we see that temperature and precipitation patterns in the world are changing. As you can see here on the slide, the projections are quite severe in terms of change in temperature on the left. Basically, across the world, there is going to be a significant increase in temperatures expected towards the end of this century. And on the right-hand side, you will see that also rainfall patterns are going to change drastically. In this case, indicating that in the Caribbean, it's going to be a lot drier, while the periods of extreme weather conditions with extreme rainfall and stronger hurricanes are also projected. Now, you might ask yourself, okay, well, that is fine, but how does this affect me, my way of life, and my pocket? And I just want to point out a couple of aspects that directly impact you. And many of you might have already felt this in your daily lives. Flooding, for example, caused by extreme weather events, causes damage to homes, businesses, and property. And it also hampers economic activity. It affects productivity when we cannot go to work, when, let's say, infrastructure is impacted. We can't use roads, we can't use other transportation infrastructure. You also know that rising sea levels affect property and other infrastructure. So among others, heat waves increase the need for air conditioning, and this increases the pressure on electrical grids. So typically what we are seeing in these periods of extreme weather conditions, that the electrical grids, when during a heat wave, for example, are not able to cope with this increased demand, and then you will experience power outages. So this could have an impact on your perishable goods in your fridge. Your freezer is thawing out. You might not be able to use your air condition or do your work from home, as many of you might be working from home sometimes. Also, heat waves cause fires that destroy agricultural production. This increases the price of these goods and services in the market, and also might have an effect on water supply. So all of these impacts can result in economic losses, reduction in income, and an increase in expenses for citizens like you and I. Many of you will remember what happened about 3 years ago when the heavy rainfall resulted in the Manzanilla-Mayaro stretch being underwashed, and several properties were affected, many of them completely destroyed. And as the CEO mentioned earlier, we recently saw the impact of Melissa, Hurricane Category 5, on our neighbor islands. And of course, these have direct impacts on disposable income, on the ability to work, on the ability to survive in some instances. So there is a direct relationship between climate change and our way of life, and that's why we need to do something about it. And in the next segment, I will speak a little bit about climate mitigation, which targets the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, and climate change adaptation. Those are solutions that will help us to adapt to the climate crisis. But before we go there, I would like you to use your mobile device, if you can, and scan this QR code and answer the following question for us to understand what you think about climate change. Do you perceive, or how severe do you perceive the risk or the threat climate change poses on your personal or your family's wealth, as well as the quality of life? So please scan this QR code, and a small yellow tagline will pop up for you to respond to this survey question. If you do not have a mobile device close by, you can also visit menti.com and use the code 72090578. And please be rest assured that all answers are anonymous. So we would like to understand a little bit how you personally feel about the effects of climate change on your life. So I will take a look at the results here on my phone while they come in, but we will give you a moment to respond. And while the answers are coming in, we can probably take a quick look at how the world is currently responding to the climate crisis. And as I mentioned, there are two sides of the same coin. On the one side, we need to reduce our emissions that cause climate change. And on the other hand, we need to adapt. These are actions to manage the risk of climate change impacts. You will see that on the left-hand side, in terms of the mitigation strategies, There are some that you are already aware of. Sustainable transportation in the sense of low emission transportation like electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, public transportation, electric buses, and so on. Clean energy through wind and solar, for example. And very importantly, energy efficiency. These are solutions that are very quickly attainable. Energy efficiency is probably the most interesting for Trinidad and Tobago in particular, interesting and also cost-effective solution to reduce our emissions. Because some behaviors, some processes are quite wasteful. When, for example, we leave the door open when the air conditions are running, or when we don't use LED lights, for example, as we heard earlier in the introduction. On the other side, there is adaptation, climate change adaptation, and that refers to us being better prepared and investing into solutions like, for example, flood protection to prevent flooding that will increasingly occur to affect our property. There are also infrastructure updates that can be implemented. And of course, there is disaster risk management. And at the nexus of the two, there are some solutions that we can promote, such as water conservation, local consumption, because, for example, much of the food that we are currently consuming is being imported, and there is little, well, I would say there's a lot of greenhouse gas emissions that are associated with the logistics, while if we consume local food, there is very little or small greenhouse gas emission associated with the production and the logistics that come with it. So I'm just going to take a look here on the results. So we have over 40 responses. Overall, the majority of the respondents agree that climate change poses a significant threat on their wealth and quality of life. So it is a burning topic, and it is an important issue for which I believe now finally through Venture Credit Union there are some solutions that you can take to reduce your emissions and at the same time adapt to the changing climate. So we wanted to use this opportunity to debunk some myths that people have about mitigation solutions, and in particular energy efficiency appliances and investments in energy efficient solutions. So some people would say that energy efficient appliances won't really lower my bills that much, right? So that is a misconception, because going green means saving money directly. So energy efficient investments typically pay for themselves through lower utility bills. And now with the Green Save loan that Venture is offering, the financing of this, in some instances higher upfront cost, is going to make it very easy for you to save money directly. So simple upgrades such as LED light bulbs, energy efficient appliances, inverter type air conditions, solar water heaters can produce noticeable monthly savings. What you should be looking at when you're planning to purchase a new item, whether that is an appliance, solar water heaters, or regular water heaters, is to look at the kilowatt hours that an appliance consumes over a year. And typically, appliances now are equipped with an energy label. So there are many of them out there, and it might be that there are some challenges with the comparability of these labels, but they all function in the same way. The top, the dark green, the darker, or sometimes there are two dark green sort of indicators on the label highlight that these appliances are energy efficient. And you should refrain from investing into those that are on the lower part of the scale, because you will have to pay a lot extra for running those over their useful life. And as you know, sometimes fridges, freezers, stoves, and so on, electric stoves, they will run for 10, 15 years, right? So there's significant savings potential in investing into the right appliance from the start. And one sort of very easy way to look at it is to look out for the Energy Star label. Right? So if you see the Energy Star label, that means that you can save up to 30% of your electricity bill associated with that appliance for the year, because they are by default energy efficient. And the Venture Credit Union Green Safe Loan promotes, and as you will hear in just a moment, offers you a lower interest rate, a significantly lower interest rate, if your appliance meets those energy efficiency criteria. So in some instances, there is a higher price associated with the energy efficient appliance, but it will pay off in just a couple of years, sometimes in months, and the additional savings on a monthly basis you will see in your electricity bill directly. So just to give you an example, you might be asking, what can I do to assess the cost when I'm shopping for a new appliance? And you all would know this, or many of you will be familiar with the TN Tech bill, right? So based on how many kilowatt hours your fridge uses for the year, you will see that based on the bracket you are in, or the rate that you are paying per kilowatt hour, the savings could be up to $555, in this example, $500, $600 per year for one single appliance if you convert from an old to a new fridge, for example. And all you need to look out for is the Energy Star for starters, or at the energy label to confirm that your appliance is indeed an energy efficient appliance. Right? So this is something that I'm sure you're familiar with. So of course the cost savings per year change depending on how much your household's total energy consumption is, because once you cross certain thresholds, like you see on the left-hand side in terms of the units, once you exceed, for example, 1,000 kilowatt hours, your rate increases, and as such, your expenses also increase. But at the same time, your savings would also increase if you invest into an energy-efficient appliance. Okay, moving forward. There are other tools online that you can use to assess the savings potential. For example, on energystar.gov, you can see how much you can potentially save if you invest into an energy-efficient fridge based on the model that you currently have, just to give you some ideas. And the Venture Credit Union team will supply you with this this link after the webinar. Another myth that we often hear is that my small changes won't really make a difference. What can I do in the grand scheme of things? However, the reality is that collective action creates significant impact. One household reducing energy waste can inspire many more. As some of you might have seen, there is an initiative currently in Trinidad and Tobago that is called Every Bottle Back. And we heard it from the CEO earlier that plastic containers such as bottles and so on are currently being recycled. And there are a lot of initiatives in neighborhoods that self-organize and actually create income opportunities through the collection of plastic waste. And as you will get a fee when you deliver that plastic waste to the Every Bottle Back facility. So similar things happen also with energy efficiency. People will talk about it, and you can make a difference by speaking about it in your friendship circles, at work, and in your sports clubs, for example. Further, if your family is growing, you will use your appliances more often in the future, and therefore you will incur higher energy costs. And there, in this instance, energy savings generated through energy efficient appliances and low carbon solutions come in very handy here. Another element that is important to consider is that you can protect your family from power outages if you invest into, for example, solar water heaters or photovoltaic systems, because they will still be running when there is no electricity on the grid. And you might even be able to produce your own electricity and pass it on to your neighbors in those situations. Now, to wrap up my part of this webinar, I would encourage you again to scan this QR code and let us know what you think is the main reason or the biggest reason you don't usually choose energy efficient or green appliances when buying a new one. Is it that you think, okay, they are too expensive? Is it that they are not available in the local market? Is it that you don't understand what the energy savings really are? Or any other reason that might be suitable or that might be sort of applicable to your consumption patterns and your decision of what you're investing in. So please do scan the QR code and let us know so that the team here at Venture Credit Union can design a financial product that's very much tailored to you and your needs. And I do hope that you had a chance to scan this, because the last myth that I want to address today is that we often hear, oh, well, green products are not widely available in Trinidad and Tobago. And that is actually not true, because I've been working on this topic for quite a while, and I've seen quite a significant change over the past 5 years in terms of what is available, what the after services look like. A lot of companies have built expertise in these type of appliances in terms of solar water heaters. We know that there's a lot of growth in hybrid and electric vehicles, and the mechanics have been trained in these types of engines. So there is actually a lot of there's a big range of suppliers available locally that offer these types of products and services. And in the next segment of this webinar, we will have an opportunity to talk to some of them. This brings us to the end of my part. Thank you. And please do connect. You can visit our website at übergreen-consulting.com, or you can look me up on LinkedIn or send me directly an email, and we can continue this conversation. Thank you, and I look forward to the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Tobias. We have learned so much this evening from what you have said to us this afternoon, cost savings and how we can sustain our planet. So we thank you for your presentation very much. So we want to delve into some of those providers, suppliers, who will now say to us some of the things that we can get. So we have our solar systems, we have our vehicle suppliers, and we also have a small segment on sustainable products. I would like now to have our presenters, and the first one we'll delve into is our solar panel system, that will be done by Mr. Valmiki Ramsingh. So we'll now have that presentation this evening.
What if your electricity bill could drop by 50% or even 60%? We can do that here in Trinidad. Hi, I'm Valmiki Ramsingh of Solar Energy TT. We specialize in wind, solar, and hybrid solutions for domestic and commercial properties, helping individuals and businesses embrace green options. When we say green, we refer to any energy that has been generated using natural resources, And our natural resources are very simple: wind, water, and sun. And so if we harness the energy from those three items, we end up with what's called green energy, meaning that we do not contribute to what a term called the carbon footprint, which is we are adding pollution to the atmosphere by using fossil fuels, for example. Electricity using natural gas to turn the turbines to produce electricity, giving carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, which we want to reduce. You'll be surprised, the building in Trinidad recently is contributing 65 tons of CO2 per year by just running their air conditioning units and everything else on energy, which we call fossil fuel energy. The biggest misconception that we have in Trinidad about solar and wind energy costs, the first thing they say is it's too expensive. There is no misconception about the cost because everything is imported. However, governments, past and present, have given you the biggest gift you can get. There is no VAT and there is no customs duty on lithium batteries and on solar panels. Do these systems work all the time? Yes, when there is sunlight. The most important, remember, you're dealing with solar, so you're dealing with light. So what you see here is a bifacial solar panel. It has two surfaces. So the light underneath, when you put it on the roof, also contributes to the energy. Some of the cheaper models of solar panels have a backing. These have photovoltaic cells at the back and at the front. They last, are reliable, depending on who you buy it from. Now, gel batteries, lead acid batteries, which we use in our cars, they also work, but because of the amount of work that these batteries have to do on a constant basis, they break down after a short period of time. 1 year, 2 years maximum. That's for lead sulfate car batteries. And then you have the marine batteries, maybe a little longer. The gel batteries will probably go between 3.5 to 4 years. But then again, they're using them every day. But lithium batteries are guaranteed. Factory manufacturer give you 10 years and they last 15 years. So you're getting your money worth. A 5 kilowatt, 7 kilowatt, 10 kilowatt system will cost you anywhere from 135,000 to 235,000 TT, that is. And this will allow you to save approximately 80% on your electricity bill over the next 10 years with minimal maintenance costs. The key point to note is whether your consumption is enough to warrant the initial expenditure. If your light bill is less than $1,000 a month, don't worry. Don't worry, it's not worth the bang for the buck. But if you have 3 or 4 or more AC units and a large family, or you operate a small business, a groceria, a cold storage, with an electrical load that is pretty high, then this is definitely an option you should look into. I have done a lot of them and they work. And here's the best part. Venture Credit Union is making this easier than ever. With their Green Save loan, you get reduced interest rates and reduced collateral requirements. That means what seemed impossible last year is actually within reach today. So whether you choose solar panels, wind energy, or energy efficient appliances, Venture has your back. Don't let another month of high electricity bills go by. Visit venturecreditunion.com or call 225-4828 to learn more about the Green Save loan. Please do. You won't regret it.
Okay, so everyone, we have just heard about solar systems, how we can save, how it is good for the environment. I would now like to also invite our next presentation, which would come from HSM, Mr. Mikhail, and we'll have that presentation now for your edification.
Hey everyone, my name is Mikhail Hussein and I am the CEO of HSM Motors. HSM Motors is a car dealership in Trinidad and Tobago, and we were actually the pioneers in the EV industry. we were the first company to commercially bring EVs to sell in Trinidad and Tobago. So we'd have done a lot of work with respect to educating people, and we actually featured in the energy conference that year that we started EV vehicles. So apart from EVs, we're also heavily involved in hybrid vehicles. So we'd have started hybrid vehicles around the year 2016, and since then, the population has grown to love hybrids, and most people prefer hybrid vehicles now, because apart from it being very economical to drive, it's also cheaper to purchase because of the concessions that we have available in Trinidad and Tobago. So, at HSM, we believe we can help all persons that go proud or go green, or in some way reduce the impact that they have on the environment. From whether you buy a hybrid car that, has less emissions that gives off, or an EV vehicle that gives no emissions off, because you as the end customer has zero carbon footprint, And we do a lot of work here when customers walk in terms of educating persons, in terms of how these cars will impact your life positively. So in Trinidad and Tobago, we have one of the best climates to encourage persons to either go hybrid or electric, or just go green in general. And why I say that is, one, in Trinidad and Tobago, we have concessions in terms of taxes in which you save by purchasing a hybrid vehicle. So if you purchase a hybrid vehicle that is a 1.6 or smaller engine, you pay zero VAT, zero duties, zero motor vehicle tax. And now if you buy an electric vehicle under a certain cost, you pay zero taxes as well. So apart from that, we spoke about hybrids, we talk about electrics. In terms of hybrid vehicles, they still use gas. And in Trinidad and Tobago, our gas is relatively cheap. So when you combine the savings with respect to purchasing a car at a reduced price, and then you have a car that's going to give you twice the amount of mileage on the same tank of gas, you're going to be saving thousands of dollars every year in just gas. And then in terms of the cost of the vehicle, you save tens of thousands of dollars. So it's a very, very good climate for you guys to buy EVs and hybrids in Trinidad and Tobago, or just go green in terms of vehicles. So if you're out there and you want to know more information about going green, join us with Venture, and you would learn so much information, and you never know, we'll help you save some money when it comes to your next vehicle purchase.
Okay. So now we have explored solar power, we have seen vehicles. Now we'll hear from our SBCS representative, Mr. Vishal C. Paul, who talks about maintenance of these vehicles. So we now have that presentation.
Hello, and welcome to SBCS Hybrid and EV Service Center, a trusted destination for expert care in servicing hybrid and electric vehicles.
Hi, my name is Vishal. I'm the technician here at SBCS Hybrid and HEV Center. We use state-of-the-art equipment and diagnostic tools to maintain your hybrid vehicle. Going green by switching to hybrid and electric vehicle can help you save money on fuel, and also, once the vehicle is maintained properly, can add to additional savings. I used to drive a gas vehicle before. My commute to and from work was 120 kilometers per day. My gas bill for the month was approximately $2,000. I needed to save money. That is why I switched to a hybrid vehicle. Now I drive a Yaris hybrid. My same commute, 120 kilometers per day, my gas bill is now approximately $600. So by going green, it helped me to save. What you don't know about hybrid and electric vehicles, they are built to save you money. Once the vehicle are properly maintained and you do the appropriate servicing, you will save money. After owning this vehicle for over a year and a half, I have just done basic maintenance, engine oil change, kept my battery pack clean, and basically that's about it. And I have been saving money on fuel and maintenance by going hybrid. So everyone is under the concept that because hybrid battery packs cost a fortune to replace when it finally fails, it's basically sort of a myth, because different manufacturers have different type of battery chemistry, and different battery chemistry have their lifespan. Yes, you will have to replace it over time. However, the savings that you will get during that time will more than compensate for that loss. Here at SBCS HEV Center, we do maintain, service, and repair your hybrid vehicles and your hybrid battery packs.
So the reality is we live on a small island. we feel heat, flooding, pollution directly. But when you drive a low emissions vehicle, you're not just helping the planet in an abstract way, you're literally cleaning the air that we breathe, the coastline that you line by, and basically the future that our children will grow up in. So it's not just a financial decision, it's personal and it's for the planet and it's practical. So if you own a hybrid or electric vehicle and want to learn more about servicing it yourself, we here at SPCS do actually run a course on servicing hybrid and electric vehicles that lasts about 6 to 8 weeks. So feel free to enroll. At SPCS Hybrid and HEV Service Center, we're fixing vehicles every day, so we see how much people are saving. You can own your own hybrid or electric vehicle through Venture Credit Union. Green Save Loan. Through Venture Credit Union and SPCS, you can save money and the planet. Learn more about the Green Save Loan at venturecreditunion.com.
So, we have heard of the maintenance of these vehicles, but we have even more for you. LaFast Motors' Javon Patrice, of BYD sales representative, will showcase more hybrid and electric options to help you make the switch to cleaner transportation.
Good day everyone, this is Javon Patrice, Sales Advisor at BYD, and here at BYD Trinidad and Tobago, we provide fully electric and hybrid vehicles to ensure that you could go green and be sustainable in the environment. Come, let's go inside. BYD's global mission is to cool the earth by 1 degree Celsius, and our vehicles help you cut fuel costs, save the environment with lower emissions, and save money on fuel. At BYD, we have various fully electric and plug-in hybrid options. One behind me is the Sea Lion 7 with 542 kilometers of driving range on one charge. And if we look right over here, we have the BYD Song Plus plug-in hybrid with 92 kilometers of fully electric range and 1,100 kilometers on one tank of gas. I just showed you 2 models, but we have more. We have even a small hatchback SUV crossover. We have various SUVs, fully electric, going up the line. We have a sedan, and we even have a 4x4 pickup plug-in hybrid called the BYD Shark. In TNT, fuel costs are rising, cost of living is rising, and let's be honest, our environment needs protection. By choosing BYD, you could save hundreds and thousands of dollars annually, and you could do all of that while protecting the environment and ensuring a cleaner land. Well, I bought a BYD 3 months ago, and I live south. I work in Port of Spain, and trust me, I save roughly about $2,500 a month just by switching to electric. Alright, so if you want to hear more, come on down to Venture Credit Union. We'll see you there.
So Venture, we have not just brought you products, we have told you how you can service them where you can. So I just wanted to ask a question, either Javon or Vishal can answer. What are some of the environmental impacts of traditional vehicles as opposed to electric ones being used now? What are some of the traditional impacts that we would have had with diesel or petrol vehicles?
Okay, so due to emissions from gas, vehicle manufacturers are now switching. They need to basically lessen down on the emissions. And by doing so, the only way that they can do that is by going hybrid or electric, by cutting down on these emissions, green gases, and helping the environment. Yeah.
Okay, and how do energy efficient vehicles help us in that way?
Well, again, in terms of having a cleaner environment, and one thing was mentioned earlier is with the heat, right? The electric vehicles contribute to a lot less heat than a regular internal combustion engine vehicle, which would have a greater impact overall on a lot of other factors in terms of climate change.
Right, so we talked about climate change. What about cost? Because you know a lot of people talk about cost, Trinidadians like to talk about how does this affect my pocket. I know we would have heard some of it, so you just want to reiterate some of the cost savings we have from using electric or hybrid vehicles?
Okay. I mean, I could talk from my personal experience. Having purchased my own electric vehicle a year and 3 months ago, my gas bill was around $3,000 a month. And since I switched to fully electric vehicle, my electric bill went up by $250, right? So I save generally around $2,600, $2,700 every month just by switching to an electric vehicle. And that is only in one aspect. Of course, you have the a lot less maintenance, which would be a lot less maintenance cost as well. You know, so in terms of savings, the fully electrics and the plug-in hybrids that we have will go a long way in terms of savings.
So members, you're hearing we're having savings and we are also saving the environment. I also wanted to ask if there was something that one piece of practical advice that you could talk about adopting green solutions, what would that be, Tobias?
In terms of how to?
Yes.
Well, first of all, I would recommend to understand what are your consumption patterns? Where are some entry points that are relevant to you? Look at how you consume, what you consume, you know, how big is your family? For example, solar water heaters are a great way to start. They're fairly cost effective. Most houses have the required structure to facilitate an installation, and then look at what works best for you.
Okay, so you all have heard it. Cost savings, environmental savings as well. I also wanted to ask, what kind of savings can individuals or businesses expect when they choose green or energy efficient, whether it be appliances, whether it be vehicles? We know that there are savings, but what kind of savings can we get generally? Because you know you can get savings from the vehicles, you can get savings from this, but you know sometimes we all feel that, and you would have dispelled some of those myths, that we can't do anything, you know, me alone wouldn't help, kind of thing. So there are some things that we can do, which is like changing our bulbs, LED and that kind of thing, and those are some of the savings. Maybe you can just give us an example of what kind of savings you as an individual can receive by choosing to change out your electricity bulbs or your appliances via
Yeah, I can start, of course. As we said, with energy efficient appliances, you can save roughly 30% of the energy consumption of that appliance. In terms of course, water consumption, we know that in Trinidad many houses are not metered, right? So, but for those who are, there's going to be some significant cost savings possible if you, for example, install into rain water harvesting systems. In terms of solar photovoltaic, these savings depend on the technology. And of course, here it's kind of a blessing and a curse, right? That we have very low electricity cost, but we don't know when that changes, right? And when it does, then we should be prepared.
Definitely. Vishal, I know that you all service the vehicles. Does the cost of servicing depend upon the type of vehicle or the battery? What makes the cost savings?
Okay. Yes, so different manufacturers have different specifications, different types of battery chemistry. And the servicing do depend on the different types of vehicles and manufacturing specs, right? But overall, the cost, it's not that much to maintain a hybrid vehicle, because apart from saving on your fuel, right, you also have your hybrid battery pack, which will, it has a lifespan, but the amount of savings that you will be saving on fuel, it will more than compensate for the hybrid battery pack when that time is reached to be replaced. Yeah.
All right. So how often is maintenance required for these batteries? Because I have a petrol vehicle,
Right.
and because of the distance that I drive, I have to service my vehicle every 3 months.
3 months.
What is the time span between services of these electric and hybrid vehicles?
Okay, so with a hybrid vehicle, the engine is not continuously running. So therefore, the service interval will be longer as compared to a traditional gas vehicle. So let's say regular oil change will be approximately, I would say, 8,500 kilometers or 6 months, whichever comes first, according to manufacturer spec, right? So the maintenance is a bit lower than traditional vehicles.
Okay, so it could be between 6 months.
Yes.
Okay. Javon, you would have said you had some savings with regard to your vehicle. Since you've purchased it, how many times have you serviced?
Well, the BYD vehicles, we service the full electrics once a year or every 20,000 kilometers, right? And in terms of the plug-in hybrids, we service once a year every 12,000. So in the 1 year and 3 months, going from Faizabad to Port of Spain every day, I am on 70,000 kilometers now, and I have serviced about 3 times in that period.
Okay, so members, you have heard it. You've heard the savings. I would like persons, if you have questions, please put the questions in the chat so we can respond to them while we're here. So persons who have questions, please put your questions in the chat and we will respond. Yes? So Tobias, you have been in this business for the longest time. What are some of the changes you've seen over time as we graduate more to environmentally friendly appliances, cars, and so on? What have been some of the changes you've seen?
Yeah, I think as Vishal said, it's becoming more and more the norm to be energy efficient because there is a global drive towards a cleaner environment, the green energy transition. Locally here in Trinidad and Tobago, I would say that the hybrid and electric vehicles are everywhere, and rightfully so. They deserve to be on the roads. And I think what we heard earlier from our colleague regarding the heat that they're generating, if you're in Port of Spain or somewhere else in the urban centers, it gets very hot, right? And internal combustion engines have their role to play in that, and that's why I think transitioning to a hybrid or a fully electric vehicle is helpful to not only you and your pocket, but also to your neighbors and the next generation and those who are living in this country.
Excellent, excellent. We spoke about solar systems. Have you had any experience with regard to persons who may have switched to solar, and what are their experiences with it?
Yeah, overall the technology is fairly mature. So the solar photovoltaic systems don't give much problems anymore. I mean, of course, there is the the service that you need to do every now and then. Maybe if a solar panel has a crack and needs to be replaced, but those costs are minor. And especially for those who experience power outages regularly, or for those persons who are living in rural areas where there is no electricity grid connection, those are some very practical solutions. And right now there are many companies in the solar space, and they do import premium products that are currently available in the market.
Okay, I know for homeowners, solar, if your electricity bill is not very high, it may not necessarily make sense for you to switch to solar at this time. And because our electricity bill is not very high, a whole lot of people do not switch quite as easily to solar. So you will have small businesses and other persons who may switch because of their consumption. Yeah. But it is something that we would like to gradually go to with everyone, yes?
Yeah, that is correct. One of the challenges is indeed, as you mentioned, I said it earlier, the very low cost of electricity that we currently have. However, we need to understand that it is highly subsidized, and these costs have to be borne somewhere else, right? So the subsidy that we're currently receiving for cheap electricity is missing somewhere in terms of investment into education, the healthcare system, and elsewhere. So we as citizens, we should reduce our consumption so that this electricity can be, for example, used on the Point Lisa's estate, creating value-add products that generate foreign exchange, and the opportunity cost of our cheap electricity is very high.
Yeah. So members, you have heard it all from Venture Credit Union. We are green and not just talking the talk, but walking the walk. We would like to thank our panelists who were here this afternoon. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, for partnering with us to get this information across to our members. We are truly thankful. Again, persons, if you have questions, please put it in the chat so that we can respond. We are happy to answer any questions that you have, so please put it in the chat. Okay, so I'm seeing questions. What is the average price range of a home solar system?
Well, it depends on your needs, all right? It's not as easy as one size fits all, but I would say it will probably start around $70,000, $80,000 for sort of the bare minimum, with some solar panels, the inverter, some of the other tech that you require that could supply some of your appliances. But to go full solar, you would also need battery storage, and that's where it gets expensive. But it depends on your needs, right? But I would say roughly starting at $80,000, $90,000 TT, up to, if you want to go fully solar with battery storage capabilities, you'll probably look more at like 200,000 and more.
Okay, but that can be done in phases, right?
That can be done in phases,
yes.
And that would cover basically all your electricity needs, including for your electric and hybrid vehicles.
Yes, thank you, Tobias. Solar AC systems for residential use. Do we have any info on cost, what they might be?
Solar air conditioning systems?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, it would be a similar setup, right? So you will have a solar photovoltaic system that powers the air conditioning unit alone, okay. Right? So that could be, because you would most likely, I mean, it depends on your consumption patterns, but if you use the air condition during the day and not during the night, then you can power it directly, right? But you will probably need some battery backup or intermediate storage, but I would say maybe I would start at 50,000 maybe.
Okay, initial cost.
Initial cost, but then you can run your air conditions basically for free for the rest of your life.
Okay, someone is asking, are there any energy efficient appliances available in Trinidad and Tobago?
The answer is yes, and many, and all over, and you just have to find them, so you need to know what to look for. And the Energy Star is a simple and quick way to do that, but of course, more and more appliance manufacturers are now adding their energy label on the appliances, so looking for top tier or top 2 tiers, so the green, the dark green or the light green is the way to go. And Donna, I know you will present just now what Venture offers if yes. These types of appliances need to be financed.
Yes. I have one other question. Cost and manufacture of battery for vehicle and cost of disposal of these batteries. Do you all have a cost for that?
Not of fun.
We could get that information.
All right, so we can get that information for you and pass it on along to our members. And if there are there any other questions that anyone would like to ask? Well, I want to let you know that Venture can finance your green needs. So we have a special Venture loan, our Green Save loan, which has a reduced interest rate of 9% and repayment terms of up to 60 months. So we are financing green loans. We are also financing vehicle loans, hybrid and electric vehicles. And of course, we have introduced our solar so that we will also be financing that. You can get all your green needs at Venture Credit Union. Just call or contact us at our numbers, any one of our branches, and you can be one of those persons who have financed your green purchase from Venture Credit Union. So that interest rate again on appliances, it is 9% with a term of up to 60 months. Members, don't forget to scan the QR code so that we may have your feedback from this evening's webinar. Please scan the QR code on your screen now so we can get your feedback. Thank you so much. So, we would like to thank you members. We'd like to thank you all for all who answered who asked questions and who participated in this venture. We hope to continue to educate you more on green financing and on green loan and what we can do to save our environment and to save cost. We want to thank you this evening. I'd like to thank our panelists, Javon, Tobias, and Mikesh. Thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. Members, good evening. Have a great night. Thank you so much.